Kia ora koutou, everybody, and welcome to the New Zealand March Super Fair. My name's Grant. I am from the team here at Possible, which powers Grad New Zealand. And I'm joined today by a bit of an all-star cast. So I'll get to the introductions in a moment. But yeah, first of all, thanks everyone for jumping online. So we're part of the Government and Public Service panel session today. So this will be going for 40 minutes, and then we're going to be rolling into employer presentations. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. So I'm going to pass the virtual mic, I guess, across to our panelists to introduce themselves. I might kick things off with Harrison from the Treasury. Kia ora, Harrison.
Kia ora koutou. So I'm Harrison Fox. I'm a senior analyst in the economic strategy team here at the Treasury, and I joined the Treasury's grad program in 2017.
Awesome. Great to have you on board and online today, Harrison. Charlotte from Stats. Kia ora, Charlotte. How are you?
Kia ora koutou, I'm good. So, ko Charlotte Hasty tēnei. I'm a recruitment advisor at Stats, and I focus on the early in career recruitment, so the grad and intern programs and any sort of junior roles that we've got going on.
Amazing. Great to have you online, Charlotte. Lily, next up from Auckland Transport.
Yeah, kia ora everyone. I'm Lily, and I look after both our graduate and early careers programs over at Auckland Transport.
Fantastic. Nice to have you online, Lily. And last but certainly not least, Alice Bell from ARG. Hi,
Kia
Alice.
ora koutou katoa. My name's Alice Bell. So I'm a senior advisor at the Ministry of Social Development, and part of that role is being the program lead for the Analytics and Research and Government Internship program. So I'm here to talk about both the internship and the grad program.
Fantastic. Covering off a few bases. I love it. And before we get things started, so I've got some preset questions that have been either provided to us beforehand by students and also just ones that I'm really interested in as well, that we know that grads and students are very interested in finding out about different programs and opportunities. But before I dive into that, please jump into the Q&A function. If you haven't used Zoom before, there's a little Zoom menu blog, I guess, down the bottom of the screen, and just click on the Q&A and start punching in your questions there. But maybe we can kick things off with a very broad sort of question, just to give students a bit of a sense for the types of degrees and qualifications you accept into your programs. So whether that's business or law or technology or so on. So maybe we can kick things off with Lily from Auckland Transport. What are the types of degrees and diplomas you accept at AT?
Yeah, so for us, it's really, really broad. I mean, many years ago, we were probably did have a more traditional program focusing on sort of engineering and planning and things like that. But now we've extended our grad program to, we would accept sort of all degrees. We're really looking to, really build those key early talent pipelines across the entire organization. And we're a really large organization, kind of 1,600 to 2,000 people with a really wide and varied type of spread of teams. So I think any degree really would be suitable for Auckland Transport.
Fantastic. So heaps of opportunities there for students at Auckland Transport, that's for sure. Who wants to go next? Or do you want me to pick on?
I'm happy to go next.
Charlotte, far away.
So somewhat similar to Lily, StatsNZ has entry-level roles across the organisation. So there's not any specific qualification that you need. You just see what's available. But in terms of the like some of the entry grad data analyst roles, then the areas that we look for are statistics, maths, computer engineering, IT, management, data science, anything along those areas can be really beneficial. So that's us.
Amazing, thanks Charlotte. What about yourself at ARG, Alice? What sort of degrees and diplomas you accept? Yeah.
This is going to sound really boring, but the same pretty much. So although we're focused around data analytics and research, it's, we'd be taking the ones you'd expect, like computer science, data science, maths, and that sort of thing. But because we have a wide range of different government agencies, they all have their own specialty area. So, we'll take, finance, we'll take social sciences, we'll take, physics, engineering, chemistry, law, anything.
Fantastic. And Harrison, what about yourself and the team at Treasury? What sort of qualifications do you accept?
So I feel like I'll be singing from the same song sheet as everyone else here, but we take a broad range of different backgrounds. But I suppose we have 3 different streams that we offer for the graduate program at the Treasury. So one's a macroeconomic stream, we have a commercial performance stream, and then also a policy stream as well. So for the policy stream, we're really keen on a range of different degree backgrounds because we face a range of different policy questions and issues. For the macroeconomics and commercial performance streams, I encourage you to look on those sort of more detailed requirements on our graduate page on our website. But that's looking at sort of finance backgrounds, math, statistics, and economics as well. And that's because when you go into those jobs, you'll be dealing with a lot of things there.
Amazing. Thanks, Harrison. So I'll again encourage students to jump in and ask any questions in the Q&A box there as well. But one that pops up a lot is like tips and tricks on how to get hired. So we've got a lot of students either studying it in the polytechs or at university, they're online, and they always ask us, what's that 1 or 2 pieces of advice? I'm sure maybe there's a few that on the panel that have got a bit of a laundry list of tips and tricks, but what's the sort of 1 or 2 key tricks on how a student can get hired? And it might be in terms of the application or the assessment centre or doing their research, but I'll sort of open up the floor for whoever wants to jump in on that one first.
I'll jump in on that one. I think for us, it's about showing your passion. So being able to really articulate your purpose and what it is that you really want to achieve and what gets you up every morning and what you're passionate about. If you can bring that, then anything else you can learn.
I can follow on from that as well, just because that's sort of similar. But yeah, so your CV will cover your qualifications and your work experience, but bearing in mind you may not have a huge amount of work experience yet. So use the cover letter to bring out your personality and make it more about who you are as a person, because that can really help us work out if you'd be a good fit for the team that the role's for. And it just helps us get to know who you are, because we do care about that. So yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I think, sometimes what it's important to remember when applying for graduate programs particularly is there are a really high volume of applications coming through. So to Charlotte's point, we need to be able to see what makes you you versus just kind of generic graduate applicant number 526 or whatever it might be. And it's kind of think about the way that you might apply it when looking for organizations to work for. You look for, what their unique proposition is and what they can offer to you. So really just flip that in reverse and think about what you can offer to them and what your unique, value proposition is. I know that's a weird way to talk about people, but we'll just, move on from that. And I think another really important one is research. It really just shows how engaged you are and how much you care. This is particularly probably important ahead of interviews. If you can come in and talk about particular projects or pieces of work or something that organization does that has drawn your interest, it might be specific people that you have seen talking at industry events, things like that. But just the more research you can show you've done into that organization, that will set you, so in such good stead.
No, it's a great tip, Lily, like in terms of that, don't fall into the trap of just because there's a lot of opportunities out there, don't fall into the trap of copy and pasting a cover letter and a CV, because it does, you can see it straight away. I've done recruitment as well, and you can see a copy and pasted sort of template as opposed to a more a student that's done their research about Auckland Transport or Treasury or wherever it might be, and tapping into those values and then aligning it to why they're applying. So I think it's fantastic advice. Thanks for sharing, Lily. Harrison, anything else to add on that front?
I suppose from Treasury's perspective, so we run by an application form, so we don't do it through CV and cover letter. So I suppose for the first part of the application form, do spend a good amount of time thinking through those questions. Think about, what agency you're applying for, why you're applying for it. We're really looking for well-rounded candidates. So, you've done well in your studies, but also how you can bring your life outside university and your experience there into the job and how that can sort of add value to our organisation. So we're really interested in your lived experiences because they are really key for how you deliver policy advice when you come to the Treasury.
Fantastic. Thanks, Harrison. Awesome insights. We've got a couple of questions coming through from students, and I did promise that we'll prioritise those. So we'll dive into it. One or two we've kind of answered, but one's popped up in terms of some of your interview tips. So what sort of interview tips can you provide the students who are online today? Who wants to take this one first?
I can have a go at some interview tips.
You're on a roll.
So I suppose there's sort of different things that we're going to be testing, right? To get an understanding of what you can bring to the organisation. So one is we're a policy organisation, so expect policy questions. And think about how you can apply sort of different lenses to answer that policy question. We have a goal of lifting living standards for all New Zealanders. So think about sort of the multiple impacts and things that a policy can have. I remember my first one when I joined was on why inflation is so low. Obviously, we're in a very different environment now. So think about some topics which are happening around New Zealand, and that might give you some insights in terms of what we might ask. And then also for behavioural questions, the sort of ones where we ask, in this situation, what have you done? Just come with a few examples. We're really keen to learn about your experience and what you've actually done in university and outside university. And you'll be surprised, you probably do have quite a few of these examples.
Fantastic. What about, Charlotte?
Sorry, I was just, one of my best pieces of advice is to come with your own questions as well, because the interview is your best time to actually interview the manager yourself. So there's always time at the end where you get asked, do you have any questions? So that's when you can come with things like, how flexible is your organisation with working from home, or where is the team based? Are they all in Wellington? Or what's the team culture like? Do you have lunches together, or just anything that can give you a bit more of an insight as to what the day-to-day would look like for you can be really helpful for you to work out if that's the right role for you as well.
Yeah, I think the best way to think about interviews is as a conversation, not as a test. People, I think, particularly grads, tend to think of it as like a test you have to pass. But the more conversational you can make it, the better, engagement it will be for you in terms of insights, but also showing yourself. Like Charlotte said, ask questions, ask meaningful questions, not just Googling questions to ask at an interview. Even have conversation points, if you're coming to an interview at Auckland Transport, is there a piece of, a new busway that we've just put in that you think is really interesting, the work that went around it? And it may not come up, the opportunity to talk about it, but it's great to have things like that up your sleeve. I think also know what style of interview it might be, and if it's not clear from the instructions you're given, ask the recruiter, is it going to be more formal, informal? What other components will there be? Might there be activities, or you're asked to present on a topic? Make sure you have a really clear understanding of what exactly it will entail before going into it, so you can prepare properly.
Thanks, Lily. Alice, anything else to add on that front, or different?
I don't think there's too much to add. I think I
Well, looks like we might have just lost Alice.
would just echo, it's not a test, so I think it's, I'm back.
Yes, you're back.
I was just saying, I really liked what Lily said about, that it's not a test. I think, it's important to bring your whole self to an interview so that they get an opportunity to see who you really are.
Most definitely. Thanks everybody. A bit of a curly question that's come out of the audience, so I thought to throw this one in. So feel free to pop up your hand if you want to answer this one. What does your sort of organisation or department stance look like in terms of tattoos in the workplace? Who wants to answer that one?
You can have tattoos.
We don't have. I've got tattoos. I've got visible tattoos for the most part. And I actually spoke to somebody in my organisation today who has facial tattoos that are not cultural. So, yeah.
Yeah. You can have blue hair. You can wear what you want. So the motto at Stats is you can bring your whole self to work. So, yeah, I wouldn't even worry about that.
No, it's not something I've ever questioned or thought about.
Yeah, same from Treasury. You're welcome to have tattoos.
Great to hear. Whoever anonymous was in the audience, feel free to put in the applications of all 4 organisations, and it sounds fantastic. So I've seen another couple of questions in the chat box here. So this one comes from Khan. So thanks, Khan, for putting in this question. For internships or graduate roles, what do you expect in terms of having experience from a candidate? Or rather, do you expect to have candidates to have some sort of experience before they apply for an internship or graduate job within your organisation? Who wants to take that one?
I can take that, at least first. Look, in terms of relevant work experience or similar work experience, no expectation that you would have that. What I would say though is, if you have hospitality, retail work experience like that, don't downplay it. There are a lot of really key skills that you will have picked up from that that are really valuable. So don't write things like that off. Talk about them loud and proud, and what you've been able to achieve in that and what you've gained from it. But yeah, like I say, in terms of work experience relevant to the role that you're going for, we wouldn't have any expectation that you would have that.
Yeah, thanks, Lily. It comes up a lot from employers as well that communication skills is a really, really key skill to bring to the workplace. And like you said, Lily, if you've worked in bars or customer service and you've dealt with difficult clients at a bar, for example, or in those roles, really highlight that in your application, because it does speak wonders you've had that experience. So rather than just saying, I've got good communication skills, really build on that and add a bit of a colour and story behind that. Charlotte, you were going to speak before I jumped in?
Yes, I was just going to add to that as well. Even non-work experience, like if you've been part of a sports team, if you've helped look after your siblings or your cousins, or if you've helped, I don't know, organise an event at any point in your life, that's all experience that adds up as well. So that again comes into, that's the sort of things that you can add to your cover letter as well, if you don't feel as though your CV really gives enough of that. So yeah, don't downplay anything you've done. Everyone has their own life story. So don't think that you won't get discounted for that. And just be mindful, a lot of the position descriptions do say experience and blah 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 is preferred or preferable, but that's not a be all end all, so don't let that deter you from applying.
Alice, Harrison, anything else to add on that front?
No, I think you guys have nailed it.
Awesome. I've got another question here from Christopher. Thanks, Christopher, for submitting this. So this is directed to yourself, Harrison. So Christopher is saying when summer internship applications open at the Treasury. So you can see that graduate roles are open right now, but the internship application is still from last year. Do you have any insight on that front?
I would love to be able to say I do, but I will get Laura to, I'll just ask this question to Laura and hopefully be able to get back to you shortly.
No worries. And I believe that the Treasury are actually doing a presentation I will have a quick look at my sheet at 3:40 today. So feel free to dive in there, or even Laura, I can see you're actually online if you want to pop that answer in the chat as well. Oh, actually, you've taken yourself. Yep. Do you want to answer that?
I'm here. I'm sitting in slide in the background. We're doing our intern applications later in the year, probably around August, September. We separate them out from grad recruitment just to keep them isolated. But yeah, later in the year for us. But yes, we run one every single year, around 15 people.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks for jumping in. Saving Harrison's bacon. So another question that pops up quite a lot is assessment centres. Actually, just a quick show of hands. Who here does assessment centres? Cool. Looks like 3. So I might start off with yourself, Lily. Any tips and tricks for students when they're preparing for assessment centres? Maybe if you can explain for those who might not even come across the concept of assessment centres, what it looks like and how they work.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say similar advice in some ways to what I mentioned around interviews is just have a really clear understanding. Assessment centres are probably the component that will vary the most from organisation to organisation. So just being really clear on what will be expected of you on the day. So for instance, at Auckland Transport, our assessment centre days consist of an interview, a group activity, and a technical exercise. So anyone coming into that should have, really robust details around all of those ahead of time to prepare. Something I would say just in this current environment is do be prepared to be a little bit flexible as well. For instance, last year, our in-person assessment centres had to suddenly become virtual. So just, a degree of adaptability. But yeah, I think the main thing is just a really clear understanding of what the components will be. And then how you prepare for that will vary depending on what the actual assessment centre consists of. Something else I would just say is, because you are, as working as a group in at least some of it, really good time to show your teamwork skills, your communication skills, relationship building skills, all of that. It's a really great opportunity for that.
Awesome. Thanks, Lily. Alice, I can see that you popped up your hand as well, saying that you do assessment centres at Analytics and Research in Government. Can you maybe perhaps share what you guys do and also maybe what you test for as well? Like what are you looking for? What's the purpose of those assessment centres as well? Maybe that a lot of students are quite curious around that front.
Yeah, so
share what you can.
So for the graduate program, this year is the pilot year. So we have only gone through one round of recruitment before, and so for last year, similar to Lily, our in-person assessment then had to be quickly moved online. I don't know what our assessment centre is going to look like this year. I was actually on maternity leave at the time that it happened, so I'm not actually sure what changes we're going to make. But it sounds what Lily has said, similar kind of stuff. You'll have a technical portion, a group working portion, and an interview portion. So ours are our graduate program is based around data analytics and research. So for research projects, it would be likely to be a written component, and for analytics, it would likely be a numerical component.
Fantastic. Charlotte or Harrison, anything else to add on that front?
So for our assessment centre, this year, in light of COVID, everything's going to be online. So the idea is that we're going to try to be quite flexible, understanding that it's a difficult time. So how this is going to be run is you have a panel interview. So that's your chance to get to know a bit about the organisation, answer sort of key questions that we want to know about you as well. We do a group exercise, and I'd just like to echo what Lily said, that this is a chance to show your teamwork and show how you work with other people. So it's really key to participate in those and sort of participate as part of a group. And then I think we also do a written assessment as well. And that's where we're testing a mix of written capabilities as well as your ability to answer a policy question.
Thanks, Harrison. And Charlotte, do you do assessment centres at that?
I don't think we do. We generally set a sort of exercise or something for your interview. So that could either be a presentation or just preparing a written something beforehand. So yeah, it's a bit different.
Similar to a case study per se, or?
Yeah, well, it really depends on the hiring manager. They'll normally pick an activity that is an example of what you might get to do in that role. But the other thing to bear in mind is that they're not expecting you to do it perfectly. It's just to sort of test your thinking and your approach. Because, yeah, if you did it perfectly, you'd probably be too advanced for that role anyway. So then they'd know where to coach you on and how to help you. But yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Charlotte. So, and again, I'll put the call out for more questions in the chat as well. I can see a few flowing through, which is good. This comes from an anonymous attendee. So what are the benefits of a graduate program compared with just a general entry-level position? Who wants to take that one? What's the benefits of a graduate program?
I could take that one. So I think the benefit of being on a graduate program is that you're part of a wider cohort of graduates. So you have a peer group that's all going through the same thing at the same time. So you've got people that you can lean on and talk to about your experiences. And that makes a huge difference when you're at the start of your career. And I think also being in a grad program, generally there's a lot more wraparound support that's available to you as well. So, you know, one-to-one mentoring and things like that.
Awesome. Anyone else want to take that? What's the benefits to Lily? To working in the grad program.
Completely co-sign what Alice said. I think also there are more structured learning opportunities available. So I think that's a big benefit, and also often with grad programs, as opposed to a more direct hire, there is an expectation that learning is such a big part of it. You're really given the time to make the most of those opportunities. Whereas with other roles, it depends on the role, but if the team is under pressure to do a certain piece of work, it may be the expectation that that's your priority. And I think the other thing is, for grad programs that are structured around rotations and placements, having that opportunity to explore different areas of the organisation, even if it's something that you're, not necessarily wanting to do, it can really help round out your experience and knowledge. So I think that rotational aspect, where it exists, is really beneficial as well.
Yeah, learning and development's a huge part of it, and I can speak for most employers, well, for all employers in the grad space and hiring interns and that as well. They don't expect you to be the finished article as much as you'd love to be when you leave university or your institution. They know you're not, right, and they put a lot of resources in, especially in the grad programs, to develop those skills, both soft skills and technical skills as well. So don't stress that you're not the one-for-one product, fit, I should say, and bring everything to the table, because you will learn and develop that on the job as you go. Harrison, anything else to add on that front?
I just echo the sort of the benefits of coming in as part of a cohort. I mean, I moved down from Auckland to Wellington, and I didn't know anyone in Wellington when I joined the Treasury's grad program. So it was great to have a group of friends that I could sort of make when I first came down, and I'm still friends with a lot of the people now. And it's really awesome to have a cohort of people who you can just share experiences with, because you're all starting in the workplace. It's different from university, and you can just sit down and have a good chat and share a lot of experiences. And what we have at Treasury as well is you get, like others have mentioned, that wraparound support. So you have a buddy and a coach. And so the buddy is someone who's like a grad in the year above. And they can tell you all the tips and tricks about being a graduate in your first year. And the coach is there to really give you that support to help you develop throughout your career as a graduate, and then thinking about next steps as well. So I think there's some really great benefits there.
Thanks, Harrison. And maybe just pulling on that thread a little bit, because all these organisations hire graduates right across the country. Any tips and tricks on moving locations? If you're, for example, studying in Wellington and moving up to Auckland for a job, or vice versa, or into rural areas? Any insights on that? Let's take this one from the panel. Charlotte?
Oh, I was just going to say, give yourself enough time to settle in, to move and settle in before your job starts. So if you're moving on a Saturday and you start work on the Monday, that's likely not going to be enough time to really familiarise yourself with the area. And actually unpack and get settled in. So I'd recommend giving yourself as much time as possible. And yeah, as soon as you move, sort of what Harrison was saying, if you're new to the area and you don't know people, then get involved in any social activities that come up at work as well. There'll be other things aside from grad programs where you can connect in with other people from across the organisation, and it's really great to take those opportunities just to meet some new faces. Sorry, Lily, you can go.
No, that's all good. I was just going to say, on top of that, if you're looking for some earlier connections, always talk to the recruiter or your manager to see if they can put you in touch with other grads who might be relocating. Particularly if you're looking to join a shared flat or something like that, it can be really helpful. So don't be afraid to talk to your employer about connections they can help you make and support they might be able to offer.
That's great advice, Lily. Thanks. Alice, anything else you'd like to add on that front? Any tips and tricks
I think, yeah, don't be afraid to ask. I mean, I think, if you're going to be moving into a team, ask the person who's hired you, what are some good areas to live? Where are some good places to look for flats? They'll be able to give you the skinny. And if they don't know, they'll be able to ask the other grads in their organisation to be able to give you the lowdown on where the best places are to look.
Amazing. I've got another question from the audience here. So this comes from Khan. I think you've asked a question before, so thanks for jumping in again, Khan. Do you expect candidates, kind of two questions here, so we'll dive in. I might ask it both and you can sort of bundle both answers together. So do you expect candidates to have some computing language skills for data analyst roles? And if so, what sort of computing languages do you expect candidates to have somewhat dabbled in? So this is relevant for a couple on the panel.
For us, it really depends on the agency that you're with. So for the intern program, each of the different agencies has their own project that you'll be working on for the time that you're there over the summer. So it depends. If you're if you're on a research project, then they're not going to expect any of that. But I don't think there's ever any particular one specified. I'll put it that way. The other thing to say as well is that we run SAS across a lot of government agencies, and SAS doesn't get taught at university, so it doesn't really matter. You'll be able to learn on the job.
Just for stats, I've just got one of our grad analysts sitting next to me, so I just did a quick check because I don't speak the data languages, but I have heard of R, Python, and SQL, which are helpful and useful if you do know them, but it's not necessarily required because teams use different things. So, but they can be helpful.
Thanks, Charlotte. Harrison, Lily, do you guys require computer language skills at AT or no?
No, I mean, look, if you are, say, going for a sort of position within a technical team, certain things might be an advantage, but I wouldn't overthink it because every team and every organization will have different preferred software and programming languages that they use. I'm not overly technical, but from my understanding is that, if you get the general concept of how it works, you can transfer that over to different programs if you need to, sorry. So yeah, I wouldn't hyper focus on any one particular specific language or anything like that. Just a general competency in that area should be enough.
Harrison, what about the Treasury?
Same at Treasury, so we don't have any, as far as I'm aware, we don't have any specific requirements for any coding languages. And it also really depends on where you're going into, because some of the policy roles you'll be working in sort of Microsoft Office, so it'll just be Word, Excel, PowerPoint. There are some roles where it's you will get taught this. So in my previous life as an economic forecaster, we used eViews and MATLAB as two of our programs, and I just learned those on the job, and there's some really great experts in the team who are willing to coach you and help you develop those, so there wasn't an expectation that I had that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Harrison. Another sort of broader question that a lot of students ask, and I know it's one of the most popular pieces of content on our Grad New Zealand site, is the day in the life stories and what graduates actually do on the job within various organisations. So I'd love to spend a little bit of time maybe sort of bringing that to life a little bit and giving you a bit of a flavour and feel for what graduates would do within each 4 organisations. Who wants to pop their hand up and go first on that front?
I will just say we've got a presentation next at 2:40 where Kenzie, one of our grad analysts at Stats, is going to share her day in the life. So I don't really want to take the shine from her, but for us, a day in the life, things to be aware of is that we do flexible working arrangements. So you can choose where you work from each day, but you'll sort of have a base office normally. And we also do flexible working times. So you sort of work anytime between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. As long as you're available from 10 till 2, then you're all good. You can do flexible outside of that. And there's always a staff quiz around 3 o'clock. I've never been to a team or met a team that doesn't do the staff quiz on a daily basis. So that is, yeah, a cool little aspect of many public sector roles, I think.
No Wordle competitions on the side as well?
Yes, that's the new thing. Yep.
Yeah.
And variations of Wordle.
I'm trying to flex my Wordle every day, but I keep on like nailing on the 5th or 6th, which isn't so much of a flex. Alice, or Alice?
Yeah, for us, it's really different because, you know, obviously we've got a range of different agencies involved, so it's going to look different, right? And the projects will be really different. But we've had people that have come in and have, made dashboards, people that have made interactive applications, people that have done rapid evidence reviews. But really, it's a mixture of, you know, getting in there, getting to know your team. There'll be team meetings, there'll be working with stakeholders, there'll be, workshops, meetings, and you'll have to kind of juggle some of that stuff in between actually getting the work done. But yeah, it looks really, really different. There's a huge range of opportunities and different projects that you can work on with us.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I'd
Lily,
say it's a tough question to answer because there is so much variety. You know, at Auckland Transport, a planner is going to have a wildly different day to an accountant. And also the way we structure our placements and rotations is quite flexible. So you could be working on across 2 or even 3 different teams or projects at the same time. Probably the most specific I could get is there are certain areas, sort of planning, engineering, and the community focused teams who you might be sort of between the office and out and about, sort of engaging with different community groups or schools or doing on-site work. In the more kind of corporate functions, HR, marketing, customer experience, finance, you can expect to be doing a split of sort of more operational work and then a strong project focus. So that's where you might be across quite a few different streams. So that's about as specific as I could get, but every single grad we have will have a very different day to each other.
Yeah, I can imagine. Thanks, Lily. And Harrison, you were a recent grad a few years ago. What's a day in the life of a graduate clerk at Treasury?
Good question. So again, the Treasury covers a lot of functions, so it varies quite a bit. I mean, in my first 6 months, I was supporting my team and running advice on basically how much debt the government should take on, key financial targets and things like that. So you get to see really cool, tangible outputs in terms of advice going over to ministers and then public announcements, hopefully not too soon afterwards, about what happens. Other graduates will be informing ministers on whether the government should go ahead with a particular funding proposal. So say if an agency wants to spend additional money. We also do some monitoring of agencies. So basically how well is a particular entity performing, something like ACC or something like that, we give advice on. So there's a range of different things. You might, if you join the economic forecasting team, which I was in, be producing forecasts for a particular sector of the economy. There's a wide range of things you'll get to do.
Thanks so much, Harrison. So unfortunately, it looks like we're out of time. So maybe I can spend maybe another 10, 15 seconds per panelist, just to wrap things up and give a quick summary on why graduates and students should apply for your organisation. And then we'll start moving into the employer presentations. So I might throw to yourself, Lily, first. Why should students look to apply for Auckland Transport?
Yeah, sure. So I think Auckland Transport, you're involved in worthwhile and meaningful work that makes a difference. But it's also stuff that walking around Auckland, you can literally see with your own eyes. You'll be like, I helped, work on some of the funding for that cycle path. I actually worked on the engineering for, this new bus lane. So it's really cool, tangible stuff that you can see come to life. And also just amazing and really, really robust learning opportunities available for graduates. What I would just quickly say is we aren't currently recruiting. We will be later in the year. So come sort of August, September, keep an eye out.
Thanks, Lily. And a quick tip for students, if you're on Grad New Zealand, you save Auckland Transport to your dashboard, you'll get alerts on that when applications open as well. Alice? ARG? Why should students apply?
So I think the great thing about ARG is that we're connected in with a range of different agencies. So when you apply with us, you've got your foot in the door to a range of different amazing opportunities in the public sector. And you get the opportunity to use data and evidence to make a real tangible difference in the lives of New Zealanders, which I think is pretty cool.
Very cool. Charlotte?
You're just stat specific. You'll get to work with some really interesting data and or decisions made by data. And yeah, there's some really interesting facts that you'll find out, like how many sheep there are compared to people in New Zealand, and just random things that add value to your everyday life. So yeah, it's an interesting.
And weekend conversations as well, it sounds.
Yeah, great party facts.
Yeah, I can imagine. And Harrison, lightning round, last but not least, why should students apply for Treasury?
So I think, look, if you're looking to kickstart a career in the public sector, Treasury is a really great place. You get a bird's eye view of the entire public sector and how it works, and you get to work on some of the key biggest challenges facing the New Zealand economy, and provide really great advice on that, and actually get to see change as well. So if that interests you, definitely apply for the Treasury. And as well, you get to work with some really cool people who are keen to provide you with a huge amount of support through the graduate program. And at Treasury, we get to do a lot of different things. So if you get tired of the team that you're in, there's always opportunities to do something completely different. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Harrison. Everybody, yeah, big virtual round of applause to all the panelists for attending today and providing their insights. Much appreciated. So give us 30 seconds or so to do a quick changeover. I can see that Kenzie from StatsNZ is ready and online to share what a day in the life. I know Charlotte hinted at that as well. So I'm just going to politely boot everybody off stage. Thanks once again, panelists. Much appreciated.